Yo, what's up, Premium Chasers? In today's video, I'm going to be showing those of you that have at least $200,000 set aside how you could potentially use that money to retire using the Palantir wheel strategy. Let's go. Also, guys, I quickly wanted to say that if this video hits 100 likes, I will personally show you my 5 favorite wheel retirement stocks. I will leave them pinned down below in the comment section, but this video must hit at least 100 likes, and I will put that there in the pinned comment. But this video was a request from one of you guys. I think a lot of you really enjoy the retirement kind of videos because, you know, who doesn't want to retire early, right? Who doesn't want to retire, right, and still be making money? And I think a lot of people think retirement means like, hey, I'm just using up what money I have left, and then I die, right? Which is kind of sad, but it doesn't actually have to be that way, right? Using the wheel strategy and selling options, as you're seeing, is you're actually able to create income from your money that you can use immediately. If you don't know what the wheel strategy is or what selling option is, I'm so excited that you're here with me right now. Make sure you watch this whole video. And those of you that already do know, right, what the wheel strategy is as a basic level, you're going to see how you could potentially use this to retire, right? Sooner maybe than you ever expected, right? So let's go over the shoulder. So when you guys ask me, hey, like, make a video doing this on Palantir. Now, Palantir is a great company. Would I say 100% you should retire doing the wheel strategy on Palantir? I don't know, right? We all got our own risk tolerances, but what I do believe in long term, I do believe in Palantir in the long term as a company, for sure. I've said it multiple times. I think it's a fantastic company, just caught up in a little bit of a bubble, but believe it or not, like, it was fantastic to see, especially when this like market crash that lasted like a couple weeks, right? It was nice to see Palantir really kind of held its own, right? And that's besides the fact of this video, but let's go over into the trade options section. So I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to assume like you don't really know much about selling options or the wheel strategy. I want to show you guys because there's a lot of different opportunities that you have here, okay, on how to deploy your capital. So if I go to trade options here, the first thing we need to do is sell a put. When you sell a put, you're essentially saying, hey, I'm willing to buy Palantir at a price that I choose, and an options buyer on the other end is going to give you premium cash upfront income. Right? That's that juice, right? That's what we call it, right? So we're going to click sell a put, and then this is where, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, usually 30 to 45 days out. Now, there's other strategies as well. Okay, there's other strategies as well, especially if you want to collect weekly income, right? But for most of you, we're just going to do 30 to 45 days out. Let's just do 30 days. Let's assume that you want to be getting paid at least once a month, right? That's what you want to get paid, okay? Now, you're seeing here on the left-hand side the strike prices. Now, this is where you're going to decide, hey, you know what? Where are you comfortable buying Palantir on April 25th, right? So if we look at this 90 right here, you could see, right, our delta is about a 0.35. So there's a 35% chance that Palantir will drop to $90 and you will have to buy it, right, on April 25th, okay? So that's a little risky for my taste, but I will keep going down. I usually like to be between 0.20 and 0.30. Let's take a look at these 87s, right? And let's take a look at the 88s. 88 is a 0.30. And I think that's a perfect sweet spot, right? And you could see right here, we would actually collect with one contract. If we just put one contract here, we collect $370. That's coming from an options buyer. We are options sellers, okay? So let's toss this into our cash secured put calculator, right? So I said you'd collect $370, right? Our collateral, right? What is our collateral here? Is 88. 88 times 100, right? Because every options contract is 100 shares. So that is $8,800, right? And you could see that gives us a 4.2% return on our money in a single month, right? If we do that over annualized, that's a 51% return. That is fantastic. Some of you will argue with me on TikTok and be like, oh man, you're wrapping up $10,000 to make 400 bucks. Yeah, that's a waste of time. Well, I call those people TikTok brain. And if you're not happy with a 2-3% return, 4% return in a single month on your money, I'm not the guy for you. Go somewhere else, and you'll come back here and realize that making 4% on your money in a single month is damn good, right? So we have and these calculators I'll be sharing with you guys, they are available for free inside of our Facebook group. We are the only option seller group that I know of, but that link will be down below in the description. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still a little bit sick. I've had this fever now. I've been saying this now for literally like a week. I'm just trying to kick it. I'm just trying to stay alive here, guys. But and so I got a little bit of the brain fog still going on. But you can see $8,800 in collateral. Now, you might be thinking, well, okay, Pete, I get $370 in a month. Well, I need more money to survive. I got a mortgage. I got bills. I got all these sorts of other things to do, right? So what we can do is do multiple contracts. So this is where you would decide what your risk tolerance is going to be. So let's say you open 20 contracts, right? You would be given $7,400 up front. Now, let's see how much collateral you would need, right? You would need $176,000. So if you have $176,000 in your account, right, you would be able to collect $7,400 in premium immediately into your account, right? You'd be given that from the options buyer. You'd be given $7,400. Well, just to keep it for the simplicity of this video, let's get to our 200K that we said. Let's see how much we can collect. Let's do 23. I think 23 is going to give us at 202. So 23 contracts. You'd collect $8,500, right? And that's damn good in my opinion. $8,500 in a single month, right? On your collateral, 4.2%. Now you might be thinking, well, okay, Pete, that sounds fantastic. I like that. Well, what happens? What's the next step? Well, once you open this thing up, right, you basically just sit on your hands and you wait, right? And that's why I love selling options, because it doesn't require me to stare at charts all day or day trade or be glued to my computer. I kind of just open a position and then I just leave. Like, I don't have to worry about like managing it very much, okay? Now, if the 25th does roll around, right, and Palantir does drop to $88, right, you will have to buy those shares at $88, right? Your money will be taken from your account, right? That collateral, and you'll be given your shares. Now, that's not a bad thing. Most of you really struggle with getting assigned. You're always thinking, oh, I need to roll this out. I need to just not get assigned. Like, and the thing is, guys, like, you want to get assigned, like, I can't, and I'm not going to go onto a tangent with rolling and stuff. I think there's a time and place for it, but for the most part, you don't want to do that, because you want to get assigned, because number one, you're sticking to your plan, and number two, if you get assigned, you can then do covered calls and then potentially sell your shares. So let's take a look at the other end. Let's say you did buy, right? Let's say you did buy your shares at $88, right? Let's say you did do that. Well, now what we can do is we could do covered calls, right? Now, the covered call, instead of clicking put, we're now doing a sell call. Now, when you're selling a covered call, your money is no longer your collateral, right? It's not this, right? This 202,000. Your collateral is now your actual shares, your 100 shares, your 1,000 shares, your 2,000 shares, whatever you have, right? That is your collateral now, right? So in this example, let's say you did buy it at 88 and now you want to open up your positions and sell it at $95. Let's say at $95, right? You're willing to sell your shares that you bought at $88 for $95 the following month. Well, let's take a look at that. Right here, you could see we would be given $645 upfront from an options buyer. Now let's go over to our other calculator right here. And if I do put just my 645 right here for my premium, my strike of option, that is the strike of the options contract I'm looking at, and that's $95, right? I'll put 95. Our purchase strike price, right? We bought our shares for $88, right? So we put 88. Our premium return, that is 7.33%. That's basically just taking your the premium, dividing it by 88 times 100, right? So you get 7.33%. Right? Your profit on the shares, if you end up selling your shares, right, in this situation will be 700. Now, this is only on one contract, FYI. So if you have 23, 24 contracts, right, you just times this by 23, right? So 700 times 23. And your total profit would be $1,345, right? Times 23, right? So like for example, if I just quickly do some basic math here, right? Because we did do 23 contracts times 23, you collect $30,000 on that trade, right? You collect $30,000 on that. You would have missed out tremendously if you didn't have that profit on the shares. Like it would be insane how much you would have missed out, right? So this is why I tell you it is okay to be assigned, because this is massive gains that you're missing out on. If you're always scared to get assigned, you're always rolling out and you're basically chipping away at the premium that you were given, right? You're missing out on the opportunity to actually then sell those shares. Look how much money we made, $700. That's more than the premium that we collected, right? Look now, our total profit on the trade is $30,000, right? Plus, right, the 8510, right? So 8510, right? So total there, we got $39,000. And that's 2 months. That's 2 months right there. So what do I mean when I say 2 months? Well, number one, right? Going back here to Robinhood. Remember when we were doing the sell put to 30 days, right? Now, if that, we had to wait 30 days to see if we were going to get assigned. Now, sometimes you're able to close your, there's a lot of variables here, guys, with when you're selling options, right? Most options expire worthless. So sometimes you're going to be assigned. Sometimes you're not going to be assigned. Most of the time, you're not going to be assigned, right? If you want to get more assigned, right, you play closer to the money, right? You go to higher deltas, right? So, but that takes about 30 days, right? That takes about 30 days. Then once you do get assigned, maybe, right, you then do the call, but that's going to be another 30 days out that you're doing. Now, if all the legs of the trade happen, and eventually they will, that's the best part about this strategy, guys. Eventually, it might not happen in 2 months, which is like the ideal scenario for it, but you could see this trade alone made $40,000 on what, 202,000? 202,000. Now, again, it won't necessarily happen exactly like that in exactly 2 months, but eventually you will be assigned, right? And then eventually you will sell your shares. So that even if this took 4, 5, 6 months to get assigned finally, you're still collecting premium along the way. But once you do actually sell your shares, you're going to collect a massive appreciation sale. And this is why I love selling options like this, because it gives you a lot more of a predictable income. I like to look at the appreciation sale as just icing on the cake, right? It's not necessarily something that I need, right? But it's something I want, right? And this is why I call this the quad option strategy, because we make money in 4 ways, right? We're making money on the cash secured put premiums. We're making money on the covered call premiums. We're making money because when we run this on dividend stocks, obviously Palantir is not giving a dividend. And then 4, we're making money on the appreciation sale. There's 4 streams of income in one trade, right? Maximizing as much money as we can make, right? With our trading, right? So, I mean, all in all, I think anybody, you're 40 grand in just a matter of months is damn good. So, what do I want to cover with you next? Well, number one, that's the monthly. And I think for most of you, the monthly is the way to go. Especially if you're a busy person, you've got your own things that you've got going on, right? You maybe want to golf more, right? You want to do whatever you want. Me personally, I love to sell options, so it's something I don't mind doing pretty much every single day, but I know might not be realistic for you. Okay? So, if you are somebody, right, that has more time, wants to be more involved, I recommend doing weekly. So if you're more busy, you don't really want more like hands off, right? You want set, forget, and not have to worry about it. Do the 30-day stuff, right? That requires what? You logging in like once a month for like an hour to like fix your position or if anything's going on, right? I still recommend you always check your portfolio like every single day to make sure everything's working fine, everything's set up correctly and all that good stuff, right? Totally. But, and especially if something starts, you might want to manage your trade, you might want to close out your position early and stuff like that. But for the most part, right, you're not really doing much. You're just kind of sitting around and waiting, right? So next, right? If you do have more time, I do recommend taking a look at weeklies. Weeklies will typically pay you more money. All right. So if I go here, sell put, and I go out to 9 days, all right, that's about, let's just call it a week, right? If we go out 9 days. Now here, when you're doing these, right, you have to understand that this is a lot more risky. Risky in the terms of meaning it's more often you're going to get assigned, right? It's just, you're more likely to get assigned, right? Now, for example here, right here, we could see that, hey, if we look at these 90s for that expire next week, right, we have a 0.30 delta, hit the nail on the head on that one, right? We collect $230 or $215, right? So let's go over to our cash secured put calculator. We'll do 215, right? Our collateral now is not $8,800, it's $9,000, right? That gives us a return of 2.39% in a single week, okay? That is a single week. So 9 days, annualized 96%. I know some of you are like, oh my God, why don't I just run weeklies on this thing? Why don't I just run these weeklies, right? Well, number one, when you're doing this on like high growth stocks like Palantir, that the price can move like crazy amounts, right? You're going to see insane amounts of volatility like that. And when there is insane volatility, right, you're going to see insane premiums. But that's a risk that you need to decide if you're willing to take, right? Now, in this specific case, you could see if you opened up 23 contracts now, right, you collect, $4,900 in a single week, right? So you could see if you times, this number, right? If you times this number times 4, if you did this every week, you're now collecting almost $20,000 in a single month, right? You see what I'm saying? But understand that you're now going to be managing this a lot more, right? What do I mean by that? Well, number one, you'll most likely be assigned a lot more often, but that's not a bad thing, right? Because the following week, you can then sell the call against your shares. And then a company like Palantir, right, that can sometimes, maybe it takes a while for it to recover, right? Maybe it does take a while for it to recover. That's why when I do run the wheel strategy, I usually recommend doing it on much more stable companies. If you want those companies, I have 5 that are really, really good, especially for beginners, that are a lot more stable than a company like Palantir. If you want those, make sure you hit the like on this video, because if this video hits 100 likes, I will share them with everybody down below in the comment section. And while you're down there, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and remember, guys, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I will see you guys tomorrow.